All right, let's jump into how Google Classroom can help you copy and distribute materials within your class. So when you're in your Google Classroom, you can do a variety of things, from reusing a post from previous years to creating announcements, different types of assignments and questions and things like that. So we're going to go through the different use cases for these to discover how you might use these within your classroom. So first of all is an announcement. I really like to use announcements for things that don't have due dates. So generally for things like class materials that we're just going to use in class, but they don't actually have to turn anything in, and they can just use that as reference. So you'll see here, this is, for example, in a news unit, I wanted to put a bunch of different links to news articles. So an announcement is going to be something, again, that doesn't have a due date, doesn't have students turning things in, but just some resources to use. In order to create an announcement, you click or hover really over the plus in the bottom right-hand corner and choose Create Announcement. Once you do that, you just start typing in what you want to do, and then you can add a variety of things, even a YouTube video, for example. And once you do that, you can search right within YouTube for the video you want to use, or even add your own URL. Once you've done this, then you can just post that announcement for students to refer back to later. Another option is to create an assignment. An assignment is something that has a due date. It's something that generally students are going to turn something in, but not always. But it's something that you want to show up in their to-do list of things to do, and you want them to really complete it by a certain date. It's also, if you want to give them a template for something, this will create copies for you, which is really where the magic happens. So in order to create an assignment, again, you go to the plus sign in the bottom right-hand corner. This time choose Create Assignment. You can put the title of your assignment and then even add specific instructions for what you want to do. And then search your Google Drive for a template that you may have. Here's where the magic happens. You could either have that students can view a file, but more so you could make a copy for each student. So what Google Classroom will do is it will take your paper, like you're going to the copy machine, and it will automatically create a copy for each student with their name attached to it. And so now they have a document that they can edit that's right away attached to the assignment in Google Classroom. So that's really a wonderful feature for teachers, because now instead of just copying any templates or graphic organizers or things that you have, you can do it right within Google Classroom. And that can be with a Google Doc or a Google Sheet or a Google Drawing, anything within the G Suite tools. You could also have students all be able to edit the file or even just view your file. Another thing that you can do is you can create a quiz assignment in Google Classroom. This is really great, especially if you're using Chromebooks that are managed by your district. What you can do here is attach a Google Form quiz, and it will automatically grade it, put those grades into Google Classroom. And if you're using a Chromebook that's managed by your district, there's also an option to lock those quizzes on your Chromebooks. What that means is if your students are taking this quiz on their Chromebooks, they're not allowed to use extensions. They're not allowed to go to another website. They're not allowed to leave the quiz. They have to stay right within it. And so that really makes them focus on what they're doing. Another thing you can create in Google Classroom is a question. There's two options for questions. So on the left here, you see that you can create a multiple choice question where you can see and get a gauge on what students most enjoyed. You can do a check for understanding, things like that, and just give different options and see a bar graph on how much students are understanding. There's also an option to create a short answer question, and I particularly love this as an English teacher because students can post a few sentences, for example, a thesis statement, and then they can even reply back and forth to each other within that. So it's a great way to just collect a little bit of information. To create a question, you go to the plus, again, hover over it, and choose Create Question. Once you do that, you're going to put your question in and ask them whatever you want to know. And then you can put further instructions if you want. For example, what is a thesis statement? What are your expectations that you're looking for? You can choose a due date. When do you want this to complete this for? And then can they edit their answer? Can they reply to each other? These things are different levels of understanding you can have as you ask your question. Another type of question that you can use is a multiple choice question. So instead of short answer, if you choose multiple choice, you can add different options for your students to select in order to create that bar graph. Finally, one of my favorites is the ability to reuse a post. So after you've been using Google Classroom for a while, or maybe if you have different classes that you teach of the same material, you can reuse a post. So if you hover over this, you click this reuse post option. You can see then all of the different classes that you've taught in the past and scroll through that for your assignment. So this is a great way for teachers to remember exactly what it was they assigned and to save time. And once you click that reuse button, it will create the same instructions, the same title. All you need to do is change the due date on it. And so that's just a really helpful way to save time and really remember what you taught exactly the year before. A couple other great things you can do in all of these different types of posts is you can, for example, assign it to multiple classes at one time. So if I click up here, I can see that I can select to post this to more than one class. So if you teach multiple sections of the same subject and grade, for example, you can assign it to more than one class at a time by selecting which grades or which classes you want to give this assignment to. Google Classroom also really helps you differentiate instruction. By default, your assignment or your announcements, whatever the case may be, automatically goes to all students. But if you click on that, instead, you can select individual students that you want to send that assignment to, which really helps you to choose specifically which students get assigned what work. Another great feature, if you're just doing it to one class at a time, is the ability to schedule posts. I find this especially helpful if you are working with a sub, for example. You can choose when you want this post to appear in their stream. So it's going to come tomorrow at 1 a.m. or 3 a.m., whatever the case may be, or even right at the beginning of class, so you can schedule all of those posts. So that's a lot of different ways that Google Classroom helps you copy and distribute materials.